Hi, everybody. Great to see you. Oh, hi. Oh, I'm always so glad to see my buddies show up. This is so lovely. And happy birthday, Eliza. Hi.
Grazie.
Yeah, and Tasha, happy birthday. We've had some birthdays in the community. It's always fun. It's always fun to see people continue growing and developing and stretching and doing all these wonderful things. Gosh, welcome. Hi, Hosanna. Hi, sweetheart. Oh, Nazi. Yay, Naomi. So good to see you guys. And Lori. It's great to see Megan Welsh just came on. I love it. And then we've got Monica and Christine and Rita Martin, one of my good old buddies. Fee, hi there. And Amy, Cam. Good to see you all. And of course, Christine. Hi, sweetheart. It's great to see you. It's wonderful to be together. You know, the truth of the matter is we need each other to keep the energy up. Keep it up and keep the energy lifted as we go through this wild and crazy time. Hi, Tycho. It's nice to see you. And we just were joined by Fred. So fantastic. Well, we've been really having a lot of activity here at Sacred Anatomy Academy because I'm getting ready to teach a really exciting class called Deep Dive into the Sacred Anatomy. And it's an adjunct to my book, Your Sacred Anatomy, which probably most of you have seen. Hello, Anne. How are you? It's great to see you. This is a neighbor. It's great. So if you haven't seen it, here's the book, Your Sacred Anatomy. It was published in 2012. So it's a big fat doorstop thing, and it has 88 color graphics. Yay, ho ho, you got it. All right. And it's filled with pictures, 88 color graphics, which are full page graphics, most of them. And it's the work that I did for about 45 years of like writing on scraps of paper and little napkins in restaurants and little booklets that I kept. And I filled lots of booklets, and I did all kinds of writing over about a 45 or 50-year period. And I was writing about what I see energetically. And just as a point of information, I see it all the time. It doesn't like shut off and on. A lot of people can turn off their sort of psychic sight, but I actually can't. I've tried. The only time it shut down was in 2009. It shut down for a little while after I had a stroke. And when I had a stroke, it shut down. It was like my brain needed to heal. And so it was shut down for a short period of time, and then it kicked back in stronger than ever. So it's been a really interesting process trying to figure out what these things that I see are. And that's what this book is. I came to the conclusion, I think it was in the mid 80s, that what I was seeing was actually anatomy, that I was looking at human anatomy, because everybody looked the same. There was a consistent appearance, although there were distinctions and individual identifying features. It was still very consistent. And so that's what I really looked at, was the consistency and how I could start defining it. And then what could I do with it? So it wasn't until the late 90s that I was actually actively using what I had been working with since 1964. So it was a long period of sort of preparing. And during that time, I really worked on personal development and healing, and, was married, had a kid, and I worked as a singer. I worked as a singer for 26 years. And so finally, in the late 90s, I retired from singing and I kicked in to doing healing work. And suddenly, out of the blues, students showed up and said, I want to take classes from you. And I was like, I can't teach you this, you know. forget it. So I started with 4 people who were game, and we met every day, every week for 4 years with no breaks. And every week we had a 3-hour class that consisted of me doing healings on everybody in the room, the 4 people that were there, and then them doing what we were doing. And then we brought in people to work on, and then we worked on the people and they learned. And I slowly taught the anatomy, taught procedures. But the problem was I had nothing written down and nothing drawn except for these little scraps of paper. So I started to do pencil. I mean, this whole thing was a long organic process. And so here I am now. And I'm game if you want to ask me questions about the sacred anatomy or spirituality or anything, because I've had to like plow through it like a farmer tilling their land and planting their crops and harvesting. And I've been doing it so long, I vaguely remember beginning. Because I'm 75 now, and the darn thing started when I was 14. So it's a long time. And during that time, I've sat in William Tiller's physics class at Stanford and listened to this, that, and another thing. And I've read tons of quantum physics books, and I've hired Cheryl, who's a quantum physics geek. And, we talk about science, but I'm not a scientist in any traditional sense. I'm a collector of data and then a sorter of data. So it's kind of sciencey.
Well, you're a citizen scientist in the 18th century mode.
Oh,
like
man.
Boyle and Hertz. They were all in their living room going, how does this work? This air pressure, this liquid,
so
this.
We got a question in the YouTube on the channel that cracked me up. So somebody asked this question very, very earnestly and sincerely. Does the heart work with gravity? And I'm like, okay, ask me anything. I asked for this, didn't I? So no. It's electromagnetic, baby. And the truth is, if you think of it this way, if you're standing on your head and the heart works with gravity, it's going to have a problem. So we work standing on our head, laying flat, 20,000 leagues under the sea, up in the astronauts were working, and they were out of gravity. So no. But anyway, I'm gonna give succinct answers, and if I don't really know what the hell I'm talking about, I'll you. So let's go. Who's got a great question or a thought? It's so great to see. Hi, Layla, Fred, Denise, Ridza, and my Elizabeth. I'm so glad you're here. Marie, how you doing? It's good to see you too. All right, I love it.
All right.
Hey, well, hey, Leslie. Hi, sweetie. Go ahead, Cheryl.
Our first question is from the chat. It's from Elisa over in Italy.
Yeah.
She says,
oh, she's in Paris.
Oh, Paris. All right. Talking about signatures and wounds, what's the biggest difference in terms of their impact on the human energy structure and personality? And how do the human energy structure or we perceive the presence of one or the other?
Well, leave it to Elisa to ask a great question. Bravo. Elisa is one of our practitioners. She's our European extension. She's holding France together. Okay, so signatures. What is a signature? So a signature is kind of the energetic quality of something. So, for example, drugs have signatures. So pick a drug, any drug. Fentanyl, it has a signature. It sits in the structure. it actually influences the health and vitality of the entire experience of living. So it isn't just influencing the physical body, it actually influences the subtle structure too. It has a different effect in the subtle structure. The subtle structure feels it like weight. Or signatures generally start off kind of like floating chiffon scarves, something very light. It's not really bothering me. But then the more fentanyl you take, the heavier it gets, the the harder it wraps around the structure, the more invasive it becomes. Now, something like a dramatic occurrence in a lifetime, like a really bad car accident, that can have a signature also. So events in a life, for example, I had a stroke. I had a stroke signature. So it was hanging in my field, And boy, when we got that signature out of my structure, I felt a lot better. I was on the road to recovery. So illnesses have signatures. Profound and dramatic events have signatures. Things like allergies are sometimes signatures. And if you remove them, they can present as healed or gone or changed in some way. So it's not a hard and fast rule how removing a signature is going to affect you, but it will have some kind of an effect. There will be something that occurs. So for example, if someone has experienced cancer, a specific kind of cancer, they will have that kind of cancer signature. And the thing about signatures is that they can attract other signatures to them. So sometimes you see people who've had 2 or 3 different kinds of cancer. So it's important to determine which is the first cancer, remove that signature, second cancer, remove that signature, and so on. So that's a whole thing, and there's a specific way to do it. When I train practitioners, I teach them how to remove signatures. So Elisa's a practitioner. She's asking a very advanced question, but that's cool. That's what this is about. I throw open the doors to the temple. I don't just talk to the initiated. I talk to everybody, which is one of the cool things about doing this. And then she asked about comparing them to wounds. So in sacred anatomy, energy medicine, we have a whole list of things that happen. People need to experience wounds in their life often to have something to bump up against. When we're wounded, it generally has to do with some form of trauma, some form of an event that has occurred in a life, and it has created a wounding in the structure. A wound kind of looks like scar tissue. It can be dark and it will hold in a specific place, whereas a signature can sometimes float around and not be directly in one spot. The wound will be in one location. So if somebody gets really banged on the head, the place where they got hit on the head, there may be a wound that's sitting in their structure. Now, the wound may not have much to do with that accident. It may have to do with the karma that attracted that accident. So most of us, not all of us, but most of us have had several lifetimes, maybe many lifetimes. Some of us have had thousands of lifetimes. And those lifetimes are, generally speaking, in this planetary area. Not always. Sometimes people live in other places. I don't spend a lot of time on that because I'm not an astronaut. But it's important, I think, to understand that karmic wounds can be in the structure and they're stuck and they're kind of like a memory of an event. Now, the thing about karmic wounds is that they have a cycle. They're cyclical, and they happen. There's a wounding, an event will occur something like, a murder, a hanging. Usually karmic wounds have something to do with death. If they're a simple wound, if they're a complex karmic wound, they often have to do with something else. If you have caused the death on purpose, if you've caused the death of another person, you may have a karmic wound in your structure related to that. And maybe that experience was in the 1500s, right? So you've maybe 4 or 5 lifetimes since then. And as you go through your lifetimes, you'll have an experience, the resurgence of this karmic wound. In karmic wounds, there are people, there are places, there are events that happen. We can determine how old you were. We can determine all kinds of information about you. We do a thing called time traveling, which isn't really time traveling, but it's looking back in time. And we look into your subtle anatomy to find this information. It's not pulled from someplace out in space. It's literally within you. You hold your whole soul's journey structure. And every story that you've ever been involved in is recorded in your own little Akashic record. It's like the Smithsonian Library there in your own structure that records everything. And we can access this. This is what people, when they do etheric readings, this is what they're doing. They're accessing the etheric layer, which is where all this information is stored. So if you go into the etheric and you read this information and you bring it forward, you're looking in a karmic wound, most likely. And the thing about the karmic wound is it's driven by emotions. So it'll have 2 or 3 emotions: fear, anger, frustration. Let's call those 3. So you have fear, anger, frustration inside the karmic wound. You have 2 or 3 people, your mother, your cousin, and your spouse in the karmic wound. And you have maybe a time when this happened, 1522, April 2nd, at 10:30 a.m., right? So you can get all that information. And then what happens is you build a scenario. You begin to build a scenario. And as you're building the scenario, you start to understand more and more and more and more and more about it. Now, can you have a signature related to the karmic wound? Yes, you can. So you can, let's say you killed somebody, viciously killed somebody. Bad event. You did a bad thing. You may be carrying a murderer signature. And that signature may continue if it's a loaded karmic signature. If it's a signature that you just collected in this lifetime, only if it's a dramatic event will it continue through multiple lifetimes. But if it's drugs or, I'm hypersensitive to oak pollen, that's not going to continue for lifetimes. That'll go with your electromagnetic field, because when your physical body goes, it takes your allergies, it takes your addictions. But what we have here in the subtle structure is the deeper impacting things. Did I answer your question, Eliza? Okay. All right.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you for such a hot stuff question. I have to say hi to Kathy Doran.
Yeah.
Hello, honey. I'm finally going to New Orleans, Kathy. She's an expert on Cajun, all things Cajun. You broke your arm? Ouch. I can't hear you because you're on mute, but it's nice to see you. Okay.
All right. Our next question is from Hosanna. And she asks, why do dogs run away or get sick and die right around the time of their owner that they're transitioning?
That is such an interesting thing. When I used to do space clearing, one of the things we would do when I would come to a house is I would come up to the door, and inevitably all the animals would be standing there at the door. The funniest one was when I came to a house that was perched on the side of Mount Tamalpais, which is a tall mountain here in Marin County, and there were 2 birds standing parrots, two parrots standing at the top of this long staircase. And I came up to the top and they both looked at me and went, ah! So it was like, and their owner said, they've never done that before. So they were really worried because the house wasn't grounded really well on the mountain. And we discovered that during the space clearing. And these birds knew it and they were trying to warn their owners. And so before I left, we had done all this work to land the building, anchor it with energy and all this stuff. And when I was leaving, they dropped their tail feathers and gave them to me. So I still have the tail feathers. Animals are dialed in. Like, so here's these two birds, right? We make all these jokes about birds. These guys were so dialed in, they were worried about their people. So a lot of times animals are holding illness for their owner. And you may see, like, you find a human with diabetes, often the dog will be diabetic. A human who's in kidney failure, often the dog will be experiencing kidney problems, or a cat. And the same thing happens with like rodents, like rats and mice and ferrets and all these little creatures. If they love the human, which is an emotion that they're fully capable of having, and then they're attached to the human is their alpha, and they get all their food from the human, and the human is important to them, they sometimes will hold in an incredibly compassionate way human illness. And so when the human dies, the animal may die too. So it's this synchronicity that happens. Now, running away, that's a different thing. What I have seen, I've not really seen animals running away. What I have seen is animals going away to die. And a lot of times they go out into nature to just dial it down, to stop. Hosanna, you put your hand up to tell me what you were going to say.
Well, just because you knew Quincy, that's what happened the day before he died. His dog Shep disappeared and we didn't know where the dog went. And that was the day that he was totally gone.
And so Quincy died.
That particular case, yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't want to speak out of turn about your son's death, but I do know that he might just not have been able to stay for what was going to happen with Quincy.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
He might have had to go. And sometimes that does happen, but he may not have been ready to die, but he may not have been ready to stay and be there for what,
Yeah, he disappeared.
Yeah.
And in 2 other cases, in the last few months, the dog has died when their owner was real sick. So that question popped up in my mind. I put them together.
Yeah.
I said, I'm going to ask Desda why. I am.
All right. Well, that's what I have seen.
Okay.
So thank you very much.
Okay,
for that
thank
wonderful.
you.
Okay.
Interesting.
So what else do we have? Hello, Barbara Short. It's good to see you, hon. It's real good to see you. So, Cheryl, what else have we got?
Our next question is from Nazanin. She says, if the system, the human energy system, is truly universal, how would it manifest differently in a non-human or non-biological intelligence? Or is this something that is not tangible to our imagination in this physical form?
Okay, read that question again. It's a typical Nazi question. It's like 3 sections. Read it again.
If the system is truly universal, how would it manifest differently in a non-human or non-biological intelligence?
Well, the first assumption is that it's universal. So I'm not clear. I'm not totally clear, as I haven't been on many other planets. Okay. I am not sure that all life has the same structure. I think it's entirely possible that in our solar system, this is the way we look. But it's possible in other solar systems that are based on different chemical components that there's a different sort of structure. So that it's basically the information isn't. I don't have enough information to decide that one way or the other. But I can tell you that non-physical life forms or robots, if you will, they do have a small structure. It's primarily electromagnetic, and they're all electromagnetic. They do not have souls. They are not human, and they have the imprint of their maker. So their maker's electromagnetic signature is what will carry forward. And I started to think that I don't know how you guys responded to Doge, but I started to feel like there was like a fungus, that was creeping through the internet and through the sort of the whole system was being affected. And I still sort of feel that way, that because it was such a large impact on how everything has been working. And there's been a lot of mucking about with the tech and the status of the tech. So there's these imprints of people who have impressed themselves on software systems and so on. I don't necessarily feel that those impressions that are left are, hurtful. I don't think that they necessarily harm us. I think that there's an effect, but I'm not necessarily sure it's negative, So I think there's the information is still being, kind of understood. Now, when it comes to objects, so there are sacred objects that are empowered. If you've ever been to the Metropolitan Museum of history in New York City, and you've walked through the enormous sphinxes that are there, you can feel it's like an electrical shock as you walk through these two sphinxes that are just like vibing, right? Something from the 2nd century or something, or even way before, BC. So we can empower objects. We wear, many of us who are married, we wear our wedding rings. If you've inherited rings or jewelry from your grandmother or your grandfather, they have a frequency, they have a vibe, right? They have something that you can feel. And there's people who do psychometry and they can hold objects and tell you about the person and so on. So there are sacred objects that we hold, like when you go into a church and there's a big cross up on the altar, it's empowered by hundreds, maybe thousands of people praying and sending energy to the front of the room. And there's this cross that's collecting it. So if you've ever been to someplace like Notre Dame or Grace Cathedral in San Francisco, or any of the big churches, if you've been to Mexico and gone to where the Virgin of Guadalupe's shawl, the big serape is framed and up there, or you've been to Lourdes, if you've been to these places, you can feel the impact of thousands of people coming to a location with their sorrows, their fears, their confusion, and depositing it there. There's a kind of sacred empowerment that the release of that kind of trauma and stress holds. So we have objects. You all have objects that you're holding. And so that's sort of the same kind of thing, isn't it, Nazi, as, the creator, of a software. I mean, Microsoft, Microsoft Word, definitely haunted. So it's got, there's an impression and there's an energetic there. And, And the energy changes. It changes as people become more aware of like the bugs and the problems of the issues in the software, and they change it, and it changes the energetic, and you feel it. But does it have a soul? Does it have a structure like you and I? No, it doesn't. Not the same way. It's got an electromagnetic frequency, like an aura. That's what it has.
I sort of have a follow-up. So like the angelic world, what about their structure? I mean, I haven't seen too many angels that I can decipher their structure.
Well, angels are like pure energy.
Okay.
So they're radiating a particular frequency. And they're a different kind, they're a different species altogether from humans. And the angelic realm, they have not incarnated and lived in a physical body, angels. There's a difference between angels and people who have lived in physical bodies, like St. Francis or so. You might think, well, St. Francis surely is an angel. He's not. He's not an angel. He's different. Angelic beings have never incarnated. They live in a different realm altogether. And that's why their energy is so terrifying for people. People are scared of angels a lot of times, and it's certainly written in one of the Bibles, old or new, I don't know, that I saw the angel, and the angel of the Lord was terrifying. It's like here it appeared, and I fell down on my knees, and I couldn't see it, I couldn't watch it, and that's because it's so profound. I have had the experience of seeing angels, and they are quite beautiful. And but they don't really look like people. They don't have these distinct features. They're just glowing, and you get a distinct impression of male or female sometimes, but not always. Sometimes they're kind of both. So it's hi Tosh. So it's beautiful to experience an angelic being. Yeah. All right, let's go to another question.
All right. This question is from Lori, and it comes probably with the need for a picture or two. So she says, we have learned about reflective layers and reflective chakras. Is there also a reflective framework like there is in the bones of light?
Not really. Not really. Because the reflective layer, which is pure electromagnetic energy, doesn't hold subtle energy, and it doesn't hold subtle matter. So it holds electromagnetic frequency. The layers and the chakras are there, but they have different quality than the layers and the chakras of the subtle structure, which is underneath the reflective electromagnetic. So there are distinctions between the layers. They do feel different, but they don't have a framework, a rib cage, like the sacred anatomy bones of light do. Can you show a picture of the framework? Go ahead, Lori, ask your question while Cheryl does that.
So one of the senior practitioners was working on me this week, and there was something that showed up that had electromagnetic energy, it felt like, in the framework between mental and cognitive. And so we were just trying to figure out, if there was a reflective framework.
So say again where you found this.
And it was in in the framework, the piece that's between mental and cognitive?
Okay, so it's at the very edge. So mental is yellow. You can see it under the green blob.
Mm-hmm.
The green blob is the electromagnetic field, and the turquoise is one of the colors that the mental layer, or it's the cognitive layer. So she says that between the mental and the cognitive layer in the framework, she's picking up something electromagnetic.
Uh-huh.
Okay, chances are it's one of the silver tethers or more of the silver tethers that have somehow fallen, become detached, and are sort of sticking into that place. But there is no electromagnetic framework. The framework between, so the picture we just showed you of the framework is essentially like a rib cage between the layers. So here you've got, so here's the physical body, and then there's one right at the edge of the physical body, and then there's another one between the emotional layer, which is right out from the physical body, and the and the next one, which is the primal layer, and then there's another framework. Those are the darker brown ones between the primal and the mental, and then there's the mental and the cognitive. So she's pointing to this area, which is really the boundary of the electromagnetic field. And those, if we go back to the HEMF picture, the silver tethers are the way that the electromagnetic field is kind of suspended.
Mm-hmm.
So these silver tethers anchor into the inner edge of the soul layer and hold this massive blob that kind of is what I call the chi field, which is,
Mm-hmm.
is broken into 4 different fields. And those are the reflective bio, reflective emotional, reflective primal, and reflective mental. So we call them reflective because they reflect what's beneath them to give them sort of status, stature, or anchoring, but they are not unto they're not unto themselves, separate from or unique to the sacred anatomy. They're an electromagnetic reaction to the bioelectrical system of the physical body that creates excess, and there's like more excess around the heart and the brain, but there's electrical excess created all throughout the physical body as every single cell fires. So the energy that fires, that's excess, goes into this electromagnetic field, and there is no way that electromagnetic field creates or absorbs or uses the subtle energy that make the entire subtle structure. So sometimes people find things and you just don't know what they are.
And I think that's what happened. And we worked on the piece and it had a big impact. So and now I'm just curious about, how to talk about it.
Right. Well, it has to have been electromagnetic energy that was misplaced. So here's a picture of the subtle structure without the electromagnetic field in it. And this sacred anatomy, or subtle structure, as we refer to it, is made of subtle energy. And subtle energy is different than electromagnetic energy. So this is underneath. This is one way that I'm extremely different from a lot of other teachers, because most teachers are, if you could show the electromagnetic field again, most teachers that work with energy healing are working with the electromagnetic field. And that's what they do. They have worked very hard to understand the electromagnetic field. And you've heard of the electromagnetic chakras as being like spinning rosettes. Well, there's 10 chakras. You can see these little gold lozenge shapes here. There's only 10 of them. whereas there are 13 major chakras. So the major chakras are at the core inside the subtle structure, and these reflective chakras overlay and come out of the major chakras. So there's an integration of these two energies, and kind of spectacular things happen when they meet, when the electromagnetic and so subtle and material meet, something happens. But we don't use the same anatomy to describe the reflective chakras as we do when we describe the major chakras. And the 13 major chakras are very exacting, and they go through all of your lifetimes. They don't disappear. Your electromagnetic field splits the minute your physical body dies. So they're really distinctly different. Okay.
Thank you. That's helpful.
You're welcome, madam. And give her my love. Yeah. All right. So, Cheryl, do we have another question in the lineup, or should I go to hands?
Well, Christine has put a question in the chat. She asks, can the electromagnetic rib cage get brittle? And she was also raising her hand, so you might be able to get, she says that's fine. Okay.
Okay, so there is no electromagnetic rib cage. There's only a subtle energy rib cage. The framework is subtle energy. Actually, we call it, subtle matter, not subtle energy. So it's subtle matter because it's denser. The bones of light are dense, and you can feel them. You can try feeling them on yourself. Let's see, how should we do that? Oh yeah, we can feel the channel. Okay, so the channel is part of your bones of light. So if you run your hand down the front of your body like this, and you come to right near sort of in the area of your belly button, there's actually a thing called your channel. And the channel is like a big major artery, if you could think that way about it. But what it really is it's contained in a subtle matter shape. It's contained in this tube-like shape, and you can track it all the way out, and you can actually extend your life fingers. You can go 20 feet out in front, and you can go 20 feet out in back. So this channel is the great mother of your structure. It witnesses you, it holds you, and it's totally related to the bones of light. It's like the foundation of the bones of light. So let's see some other bones of light pictures, Cheryl. Just pick whatever you want. Oh, goody. There's a bones of light composite. So you can see this is an alpha substructure. So it has two alpha discs, and then it's got struts holding them in place, and it's got the framework, which is those concentric circles. It's also got the caduceus at the center, which is the yin yang caduceus, which goes up and down up the front, down the back, or down the front, up the back. And it is also containing the channel, which is that big swoosh of triple current stream coming right in the front. So, and then it has all these streams, these guide wires, the things that sort of hold things in place, struts, because this is an alpha substructure. And then there's the edge of the energy structure, which is also part of the bones of light. So, and there's a few other pieces, but that's the general gist of it. And the bones of light also have these wings. So we have wings on either side of our structure. And for alphas, they look this way. For betas and gammas, they look different. So everybody's either an alpha, beta, or a gamma. The soul's orientation is held in the bones of light. And what's exciting about it is that we're influenced by all three substructures, but we kind of have a main one that is who and what we are. It's a little like astrology. You're a Virgo, but you have Leo rising and Sagittarius moon, so you're pretty fiery, So there's a whole different way that these different types of substructure impact us. That's definitely in the weeds. So hope you enjoyed the trip. Okay, and then here's alpha, beta, and gamma. And you're one of these, and you stay one of these for a long time. The alphas are visionaries, the betas are the artisans, the craftspeople, and they're about, kind of about harmony, and the gammas are about love, love, love. I think we're getting more questions, so I answered that one. Did I answer that one effectively? All right, Christine, thank you. Is there another question, Cheryl?
Yes, we have one from Leela. She says, how can the nervous system be calmed down in the midst of a new energies coming in and the collective chaos?
Oh, I love you, Layla. I really do love you, Layla. I'm so glad you're here. So on Sunday, I'm doing a sangha that's basically about that, how to maintain your calm while all others around you are losing theirs. But what I'm excited about as these new energies you're talking about are coming in is how we're receiving them and how we're using them and what's happening to us. So the human species is morphing, changing, evolving. Pick your word. So they're all good. And we are becoming more authentic. Huh? What does that mean? Basically, it means we're starting to truly express our authentic nature. So that's what the sacred anatomy is. And that's why this work has come to the planet at this time. I have a mission. Yes, I do. And so I'm sharing the sacred anatomy with you guys and with the world. Hello, Amanda. To actually help the human species raise their vibratory rate. So the more people, and it's about 100,000 people now who have been exposed to sacred anatomy in some way, shape, or form over the last 30 years. And what we've got here is we've got an opportunity to like pull the veils off of our eyes, to take a deep breath, to say, like, for centuries and thousands of years, we've had religions that have been telling us that, the power is out here, not in here. And the truth is that the power is in here now. We are embodying divine light. And as we experience an awakening to the truth of that, the energies that are coming in are feeling pretty compatible. We're feeling in attunement with them. But if we are not yet fully embodying the divine light, in other words, if we're not allowing ourselves to express our true nature, which is powerfully clear within us, but we're afraid of it, we haven't heard about it, we don't know it's there, we think it's heartburn, it's like all of this stuff that we go through. I have reflux, so people are just stuck right here, right now. And why is that? Because this part of them is catching fire. This part of them is opening. This part of them is awakening to the new energies that are coming in, except they're not new energies. They've been here for bazillions of years. And what is happening is we are perceiving them. We're becoming awake to them. So it's like a dawn. It's a new dawn for humanity. And we can either get excited about that and carry the message out into the world and live from a point of view of, hi, I'm a lighthouse. Welcome to my shore, or we can live in, oh my God, the world is falling apart. I'm going to hide in a cave, which doesn't help anybody. So we need to step it up. We need to come at the world with our lantern held high. We cannot go into great, you can be angry at what's going on. You can be scared at what's going on. You can be confused by what's going on, but be awake and aware that that's your personality that's doing that. That's your small mind that's in fear. If you wake up to the possibility that you have a greater mind, that you live in a bigger structure, that you are more than that small piece, you can begin to shine your lantern, to shine your light out and become really a beacon in your world. So it's one of the great things that His Holiness the Dalai Lama said a fairly long time ago, actually, probably over 20 years ago. He said, the next Buddha who comes will not be a single person. The Buddha will be the Sangha. So if you know anything about Buddhism, the Sangha is like the gang, the group that hangs out at the temple, the church. But in a greater, more expanded idea, it's humanity is Buddha, not one guy. So we have to start. I don't know what your religion is. I don't know what your belief system is. It's all good. God bless. May you live long and prosper. But the truth of the matter is, we are becoming that. So we're in a transitionary period. We've come through a lot. I mean, ever since the era of the Mesopotamians, we've been through a lot. And here we are, with the potential to literally destroy the planet. We have that now. Woo-hoo. We've whoop-de-doo. We've accomplished that. But can we save the planet? Can we save our own species? We can if we awaken. So that's, Layla, that's a long-winded answer to your succinct and good question. Thank you, dear, for asking it. Bless you. And just keep shining that light. Layla holds a high lantern. She really does. You gotta keep that. You gotta keep the lamp lit, girls and boys. All right. Do we have another question, Cheryl?
Yes, Desda. This one is also from Elisa. She says, there are people who present themselves as angels in the purity of their energy and practically asexual energy. If they are not angels in a human body, what does that type of energy depend on? Will they be angel later in a different dimension?
They never will be angels, and they are not angels now. They are vibing at a particular rate, and they are presenting potential, human potential. But angels do not incarnate into physical bodies. Period. Your physical body couldn't handle it. The vibe is too high. The energy is too strong, and it's a different species. It's like saying, could I become an elephant? Hopefully not. I hope that answers your question, Elisa. And what they could become is their authentic nature, and it doesn't have much to do with sexuality. I mean, sexuality, I hope I don't offend anybody, but it really doesn't matter. It's extremely by the by, Most people are bisexual. Screw it. Give it up. We are who we are. We are what we are. And we will survive. And we will reproduce. And we need to reproduce, usually. Although, that could change. And anyway, I'm sorry. I'm a heretic. I'm a new age heretic. I don't believe all of the stuff that's been channeled. I just don't. I don't buy it. And I also don't accept a lot of practices that have been taught for thousands of years that are not in attunement with who we are right now. So I don't accept those practices, and I make suggestions about different practices. Anyway, hi, Clara. Great to see so many of you here. All right. So Cheryl, did we have another question? Did
We
I
have
answer that one
several.
first of all? Did I? I did, right? Okay, good.
Yes. This question is from Amanda. And she asks, how does our sacred anatomy relate to tinnitus or tinnitus? How is it just anatomy? And how can we use the sacred anatomy energy medicine practices to help people with it?
I love this question because lots and lots of people have tinnitus. I mean, it's pretty common. And it's caused by a lot of different things. It can be caused by like nerve pain in your teeth. You can give you tinnitus. It can be caused by problems in the ear and the ear canal. It can be caused by neurological events. So there's all kinds of things. It can and it can be caused by loud music or excessive bangs or cell phone use. So you can get tinnitus from a lot of things. Here's what I suggest. Crawl inside of the sound and make it bigger. Open the sound up. Open the tinnitus up. Open it up, open it up, open it up, and get it so big that it just disappears. That's what I would suggest. So there's no like sacred anatomy procedure to get rid of tinnitus. But I had tinnitus. That's what I did. It went away. So that's a suggestion. It's like out of my medicine chest. There you go. But it is possible to focus on the sound and to expand the sound. Now, there are some people who have, things like Meniere's disease and different diseases that have tinnitus as a kind of a part of that. And my suggestion is just try this. I can't guarantee it'll work, but I know it worked for me as I had developed tinnitus after my stroke. So it was brain related and it was a side effect, and it was a terrible experience. But as I crawled inside the sound, I was able to completely stop it first in one ear, and then I worked on the other ear and crawled inside the sound. And when I say that, I mean like crawl in the sound like it's a cave, and you go inside the sound and you kind of push it open and let it get really loud. Let it get really, really big, really. And what happens is it sort of turns into a meditation and a way that you can make peace with the noise and place the noise into sort of a different world, if you will. That's what happened for me. So I would urge you to try that. And if it works, let me know. If it doesn't, let me know. We'll gather data.
Wow, what a fabulous suggestion. Thank you.
Well, I played rock and roll, Even though I wore earplugs from the 1970s on, I still had, tinnitus from the brain event. Go ahead, Cheryl.
Okay, this next question is from Fred. He asks, how does the sacred anatomy relate to the different levels of the quantum field at the solar system, galaxy, and universe levels?
That's an interesting question, Fred. It's something I've actually been thinking about lately as I've been listening to Feynman. I'm really enjoying his teachings. He's on YouTube. You can Feyman, really smart guy. He's the best quantum physics teacher that ever lived. So check him out. If you never have listened to a real quantum physics teacher, check this dude out because he's got savvy. So the sacred anatomy is an interactive, experiential, individuated container. And I've heard some people call it the big bubble, your bubble self. That's cute. But it's more than that. And it has density, it has content, it has awakened awareness, it has all kinds of things. But what it primarily has is an edge. And the edge of the sacred anatomy, if you could put up one of the wedge picture or something like that. Actually, could you put up the Web of Indra picture? That would be great. Thank you. Or the jewel, either one. So at the edge of the cell anatomy, we then can begin to interface with the cosmos. We can begin to interface with all creation. And we can have that experience of being outside of time and space. The sacred anatomy is made up of subtle energy and subtle matter, which is the energy and matter of consciousness. And that is what the universe is too. So when we're at the edge, we're in our sort of smartest place. And that's why we have less attachment to our own needs and wants and desires. So the edge of the structure, here we go, we're looking at it, is radiating out. And what's radiating out from there is the level of compassion that we have, not just for ourselves, but that we have for all creation and all existence and all other beings. So compassion, why mindfulness is great is because it helps you develop compassion. And so as you can begin to increase your compassionate engagement with the universe, you can begin to experience other fields. And there are lots of them. There's a creative field, there's a teaching field, there's a healing field, there's the sacred anatomy field that's guarded and guided by the sacred anatomy angels. There's the field of your community that you live in, or even the street you live on. There's a field of, if you're in the United States, a state or a province. There's a field of a country. And that's one of the things that's been so distressing for a lot of people, is that the field of the United States is vastly shifting right now. There's a lot of change that's happening. It's not just because of the chaos inside, but it's because of the pressure of the radiance, because there are lots and lots of people who are awake. There are more people who are awake right now on the planet than ever in the history of humanity. And when awakened awareness rises, so does unconscious negative resistance. So that's what we're seeing. We're seeing resistance. Resistance happens. And it's like, instead of walking, at the protest, you see all these people with this resist on their chest, I think it'd be better to awaken on your chest. Anyway, so there's a kind of movement to understanding that we're in a field together, that the whole universe is in a field together, that the world is in a field together, that if people are starving in the Sudan, that we're starving too. People in the US are starving too. If people are being murdered in Gaza or in Iran or in the Ukraine, we're being murdered too. So there's a oneness that occurs at the edge of the structure. There's an awakened awareness that we are all connected. And that increases sort of the awareness of the field that we live in. I hope that's helpful. Yeah, okay, good. All right, Cheryl. Thanks
Yes,
for keeping us on track, Cheryl. You're doing a good job.
of course. Great questions. This next one is from Christine. She says, so if we have other kinds of problems with our anatomy, is it most always good to go into things fully to help it disband?
Yeah, it can be really, really helpful. Let's say you've got sciatica, your left leg, you've got this nerve congestion. It's helpful to go into the sciatica, into the pain, and to to open it up, because a lot of times pain comes from constriction, pulling in. So if you go in and you allow it to open up, you allow it to be there, you can actually ask the pain, like, what do you want? What do you need to tell me? What am I missing here? And you can go into it, and you can open it up, and you can allow it to inform you, instead of just, because pain is about, like, pay attention. That's what pain's about. So if you pay attention and you go in and you open it up and you witness it without an agenda of, like, I got it, stop it, I can't stand another, if you're in that, your pain's going to continue. But if you can go into the pain, open it up, and sit with it in compassion and experience it fully, and allow it to open, it may not go completely away, because you may need to do this multiple times, but you're on the right track. So you want to allow yourself to make your pain be a discipline for a while. Make it be a practice that you go into your pain and expand it. And you can't, like, go to somebody else and say, you do that for me. You cannot, because your pain is your pain to awaken you to some form of awareness. It's there for your body is reminding you, hey, you're physical. Hey, you're here. Hey, this is the only way I can talk to you. This is it. This is what I've got. And so the physical body is reacting to you. So if you can talk to your pain, if you can open it, if you can move into it, you can experience a miraculous healing. Now, can everybody do that all the time? No. Everybody can't do that all the time. It actually takes a lot of training to be able to fully go into something like that and open it wide. But if you don't ever try, you won't ever have the experience of the possibility. So whatever pain you're experiencing, tell your body, I get it. I get it. You're trying to get my attention here. I hear you. And everybody has stuff happen, and these physical bodies don't last forever, I mean, they can last pretty long, but in the scheme of things, not that long. We don't last that long. So get on it. If you've got work to do, get the heck on it. Christine, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, as I'm just in the last few months, it's like the worst of the worst within me has been arising in terms of being with pain, not just the physical pain, but the karmic pain, to where it's like almost unbelievable of how intense the emotions are coming. And I've just been watching it, and it's been extraordinary. Just really, really extraordinary. So I really feel like that's part of our not only service to others, but of our unwinding into illumination of purity and grace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had this conversation with an incredibly smart man the other day. And he asked me, he said, what's your theory of healing? And I sat for a minute. I thought, nobody's ever really asked me what my theory of healing is. So I sat with it for a second. And then I said, change. That's what healing is. It's change.
Beautiful.
So do we get all the way through the change? Probably never. But we shift and we shift and we shift and we shift and we shift. And that's what healing is. It's a journey through the minutia. We're diagnosed with some form of cancer, and we shift and we shift and we shift and we shift, and we learn as much as we can. We become as awakened as we can. And if you're attached to a result, you're not going to get it.
Right.
You're not going to actually get the result. So you have to let go of attachment to a result or an outcome and allow just shift to occur and occur and occur and occur and occur.
Yeah.
And that will get you to the other side of it. That will get you somewhere. So, I mean, it's scary, isn't it? It's scary to be human. I mean, we're all scared. Let shit happen. That's right, Fred. We're all scared. We're all walking around, is what's going to fall on me next,
Yeah.
And people we love die. And shit happens that's so awful. We're watching and oh my God, that happened. Hurricane Katrina happened. And things happen that are so horrible and so awful and so scary. So we stay in this small state and then we attach to it.
Yeah.
And then we get afraid to shift because, oh my God, what else could happen? So that's running out of your personality. That's working and operating out of your smallest selfhood. So if you can allow yourself to shift out of the smallness and step into the bigger picture, which is ironically what it means to go into something. Because you push it, you open it up. You can suddenly begin to see, oh, there's hope.
Mm-hmm.
So there is hope. Not from a point of view of contraction. In contraction, there's no hope. We don't. How many of you see that? That if we're contracted, there's just no hope. Just no hope,
Mm-hmm.
And many of you have had miracles in your life. Many of you. I mean, I would be willing to bet almost everybody on screen has had a miracle somewhere. Some miraculous event. So that's your Klieg light. That's your big lighthouse. So think in terms of what was happening when I had the miracle. Chances are you weren't attached to result. Chances are you were in a state of love, compassion, or awareness, but you were not in a contracted attachment. So releasing attachment, it's a secret,
Yeah.
Surprise.
And for me during this passage too, there's so much rage and self-destruction, feelings of just like, get me out of here, I'm just, and I'm just watching it and quivering for an hour or something, and then, oh, here I am.
Yeah, but that's an hour you won't get back.
But
try to stay there as little as possible.
Well, I am, let me tell you, but it feels like the concrete, the massive concrete of all concretes. So yeah, I think I'm doing great with it, but it's testy.
Here's the secret. The secret is that emotions are the drivers of transformation.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're feeling emotion, I don't care what emotion you're feeling, that's driving transformation. That's driving shift. That's driving you to health. So you want to step into the emotion, feel it, honor it, and allow yourself the experience of really moving through it.
Yes.
Instead of staying stuck in it and holding on like it's important.
Yeah. Oh, it's moving.
Yeah. Because if you ever get to meet an angel, they're pretty focused on love, compassion, and understanding, like really big, caring understanding. I mean, that's kind of their thing. That's where they're standing. And they may be very ferocious in that space.
Mm.
Compassion can be very fierce.
Mm.
Fierce compassion. We've all heard of tough love, right?
Yeah.
But imagine tough love with no agenda. That's angelic. Yeah. Oh man, I love you guys. This is so much fun. I hope you're.
Yeah, we've got 2 more questions if you have time for them, Desda.
I think we do. I think we do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this one from Barbara Short takes us back to this, or just is another facet of this conversation about pain and tinnitus. She says, I feel like I have this other, not tinnitus, that is similar, but it is a messaging system telling me to tune into source, which is sometimes my higher self, sometimes another source, for important information. It is occasional and short-lived regarding the tinnitus type sounds. And I'd like to say I have that sort of not really tinnitus, occasional ringing myself.
So it's an alarm bell or a beeper. Like,
Yes.
beep, beep, here it comes. That's a lucky thing, you guys. Way to go.
Well,
Keep it up.
it's funny because at first, I mean, I've had it most of my life, and always wondered, like, as a kid, I was like, why do I get these weird, like, messages from Mars? I used to say, but then as an adult, I'd be like, oh no, I'm getting tinnitus. And then I'd think, well, no, what's the message? And it always goes away. So anyway, it's just interesting because it still tricks me sometimes, and I think, I'm getting tinnitus. I have it now, but no, I don't. Thank you.
Yeah. So that's called clairaudience, which means you hear the voice. Is it the voice of God? Maybe. But it's the voice of your authentic nature. It's your truth speaking to you, saying, excuse me, personality, I have a message for you. So, that's clairaudience. And then I think Hosanna asked earlier, if I'm not clairvoyant, what am I? Well, you can be clairsentient, which is feely, touchy-feely. I feel it. I get a quiver through my body when I know something is right. I get a stomach ache when I know something is wrong. My head aches if I feel concerned or feel worried about something, and I can feel something arising, and I get a lifted feeling. There's all kinds of ways that people individually feel subtle energies. So you could be clairsentient, you can be clairvoyant, you can be clairaudient, and I call it clairsmellient. You can smell things. Some people have, they smell sulfur. I can't trust that guy. It's like, those kinds of things. And if people smell really stinky, like poop, and there's a poop smell around them, that's sometimes perceived as clairsmellience. So you might get that information. And then sometimes you smell roses and jasmine, the wrong season, and that's also clairsmellient. So there's all kinds of things. All the senses have, clair just means clear. So clear sight, clear hearing, clear feeling, clear knowingness. Clear is this knowingness that arises. I call it primal knowingness, and it's this kind of awakened awareness that arises out of your lineage. So you have like a, Romanian lineage, right? And your grandmother speaks to you. So there's an awareness that, and many of us have that. Many of us have that connection to our ancestors or to spirit animals. We have those. And so everybody's got a whole little palette of ways they perceive life and experience things. And most of us say, oh, that's just my imagination. And the question I always ask is, who told you imagination wasn't real? So I think that should be on a pillow. or a t-shirt. Our modern pillows or t-shirts. So is there another question? I think you said there was one more.
Yes, this is from Naomi. It was from earlier. And she asks, how do the guide wires of the bones of light work as subtle communications conduits for the whole system? Do they communicate directly with the yes circuit, or do they communicate through the interconnection to the template strands? And how does the satellite matrix interact or communicate with the umbilical guide wire? What exactly is the wires communicating?
So I just have to tell you, Naomi, that this class that I'm going to teach called the Deep Dive, which if you're a member of the Legacy Library, which is open to practitioners to join the Legacy Library, which is a monthly membership fee, but people are offered discounts and on classes, as well as just a ton of information. All the practices and stuff are there. Anyway, I'm going to teach a class that will be open to the public that's called Deep Dive Sacred Anatomy. And this deep dive class is going to start. When is it starting, Cheryl? I can't remember. It's starting soon.
Well, there'll be a free introductory Q&A to learn about it on May 1st.
Yeah.
But the first class is on Friday, May 29th.
Okay, so it's coming up, and it's going to run for a long time. I think there's 9 classes, and what we're doing in that class, Naomi, is we're talking about the subsystems. So you're bumping up against a subsystem. So there are subsystems, which are combinations of parts of the other systems that work together to give us a whole picture, right? So there's a communication subsystem, there's a digestive subsystem, there's a bioelectric subsystem. So there's all these subsystems, there's more than that are really impactful and important. And I've never taught this information before. So this is new stuff, new drawings, new everything. And it's basically based on this. So this is the textbook for that class. And then I'm going to take the descriptions of like the layers or the chakras or the bones of light, and I'm going to blow it up. So there's going to be a lot more information, new stuff, but I will also explain the old stuff. So other people can come in who are not practitioners and take this class and learn about the sacred anatomy. So I think Cheryl's going to show us a slide at the end about that, right, Cheryl? Yeah, okay. But to answer your question, multiple things work together to create a subsystem, and you're pointing to some of them. So I'm not going to go any further into that because it's a lot more than I can answer in whatever time I've got left, which isn't too long.
Thank you.
6 minutes. So
I love how you did your little eyebrow thing. So I know when you did that little eyebrow thing, yes, when you do that, when you were just about to answer something, I know there's more. So thank you.
Definitely. Oh, interesting. I didn't know I had that tell. Cool. Yeah. So the sacred anatomy is a vast body of knowledge. It is as complex as the physical body's body of knowledge. And I would even wager that it's more complex than that body of knowledge. I've been studying it my entire life. I feel like I don't know anything. So it's really, there's a lot. But what's exciting is that it's a conversation that we can have about the evolutionary development of the human soul. And because this is our soul body, that we can begin to explore how we can impact creation with our own soul's awakened awareness and consciousness. So if there are no other questions, did we manage to answer them all? Unbelievable. Okay. Well, you guys came loaded for bear today. That was great. What I can say is that when I look at you, I see earnest and beautiful beings who I am lucky to be exposed to. And I am excited to see continued evolution, continued development. You're like extraordinary lotus flowers opening and sharing the magic of each of your petals with the world. And it is exciting to know that we can communicate, you know, back in the day, back in the old days, spiritual discussions like this were reserved for the elite and the special. And it is my opinion that today we're all in that category. So there's an expansion of the metaphysical knowledge as it's moving out into the species. And as each one of us awaken to who we truly are, we can begin to really share that authentic beingness with other people. And it's like, you know, the proverbial pebble dropped in the pond and the ripples moving out. So you don't have to go stand on a stump somewhere and be an expert on the sacred anatomy. You just have to know who you are. And you have to share that who-ness, the isness of your being with others in a really honest and straightforward way. And magic happens. And it's just my delight to be with you today. Thank you so much for being here. Each one of you contributes so much. You didn't say a word, your energy contributes. And I so appreciated each one of you today. Horton, here's a who. Yes, Hosanna. The whimsy. Love you guys. I'm sending you all love and just letting you know right now that my heart is open to you and my mind is open to your ideas, your concepts, your beliefs. So please share them with me, because how else do we grow? We have to share. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank you for
Des.
coming.
Thanks, Desda.
Thanks, Desda.
You're welcome. I'll see you guys next time. Try to join me on Sunday for staying centered in these trying times. Give it a shot. It's a half an hour. Come on. And here's Deep Dive Anatomy beginning in May. And yeah, come dive in with us. It's going to be, I may never teach this class again. This is a once in a lifetime shot. We're going to record it. It'll probably become a book at some point. But what I want you to know is that it's live this time. And it's you know, because I'm alive right now. So. All right, take care. Blessings and love. Let's thank the Sacred Anatomy Angels for holding this wonderful circle for us today. Goodbye, all. Blessings and love to each of you. Big hugs. Yes, let the bon ton roule. Bonjour.